Okay, we have a little extra time. I wanted to start about 8 o'clock with the panel discussion. We have, Nora, are you walking around? There's a couple, board members, can you raise your hand? If you need to fill out a question, it might just help us be able to read them for the videotape and stuff like that. Feel free to ask, and we'll write it down. That's for the general questions regarding most about what is transitional service, how can we do that. We're going to probably just change it up a little bit and have everybody come up, of the speakers, and people can ask programmatic questions regarding, like, what does Best Buddies do? Could my son or daughter be involved with it this way or that way? And then we'll break it out into more of an overall discussion, okay? So, come on up. Does anybody have a general question about any of the programs you heard about tonight?
Did you have any questions?
Yeah, this is for Jake and Greg. Okay, for my son is 18, lives in High Park. Problem is, he has problem doesn't have friends, he just goes to school, like come back. He's very much good in computer, wants to do something in computer, but I don't have a place that he can go. He does come to your program. Yeah, true. It's the sale, yes. And we're really trying to find a place where he can have that connection, and where he can figure out exactly what he wants to do. He has a great interest, but we don't know where to go from here. So I'm wondering if a program like yours can help him.
Yeah, and you said your son's 18?
Yes.
So we do have, as I mentioned before, we're working with Harbor Pilot School right now. That's the one school in BPS that we're currently working with. But we also have a number of college programs throughout the city. So we have Best Buddies chapters at Harvard, Northeastern, BU, BC, Suffolk. So we have a number of college schools that we have currently that we work with. Because the school year is kind of halfway over at this point, the likelihood of him being matched up with a buddy in a one-to-one friendship this year probably wouldn't work out, but what we can do is see if there's an opportunity for him to go to some of the group events and get involved that way. You had also mentioned that he's interested in computers. We have a program called eBuddies, which is an online friendship program, an online pen pal program. I actually don't have any handouts today for it, but I'll leave cards with whoever is interested in following up, and I can send you the information for that. The way we look at that program is it's a good opportunity for our participants to get some social interaction, but also to build their computer skills. So that's another way to work about that as well, to get him some experience. And then, as he's getting a little bit older, if he wants to look into different opportunities, you can always call our office to meet with Jake and the jobs team. It would be a matter of timing in terms of whether he's still doing vocational services through BPS or if he's ready to kind of be on his own, and then we would try to help you through that process with identifying either mass rehab or Department of Developmental Services to sort of help you along the next step.
Okay.
There's also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to just add to what Craig said. There's also quite a bit of overlap between our jobs program and friendship programs. We've had a number of folks go through the friendship programs for years and then end up joining jobs as well once they get to that age or get to the point that they're ready to do so. So that's one other thing to keep in mind with all of the events that we have, whether they're primarily a friendship event or primarily a jobs program event. Anyone from either side can go to all of those events. So there are a lot of opportunities to meet our employer partners from the community, our participants who are out working, our participants who are from the friendship programs. A lot of just networking opportunities and opportunities to meet folks.
So the best way to get connected with this is to call your office?
Yep. If you want to give me, and I'll give you my card before I take off tonight, but if you want to give me a call, like I mentioned, maybe there's an opportunity for him to go to, I think maybe Northeastern would be the closest college chapter that we have. So as they do group events this year, maybe he can participate in that and potentially get matched up the following year. The one good thing about having so many city schools is that for the older high school age students, like 18, 19, 20, it might be appropriate for them to get matched up with our college programs, and fortunately we have so many colleges right here in Boston. We would, however, like to, in the future have formal relationships like we do with Harbor, so we're working with the younger students that might not be able to access the opportunities we have with our colleges locally.
Yeah. So a few questions have come in, and we'll just ask the panel. First question was, where is Carter Cushing?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's in Hanover.
In Canada, yeah, okay, great. And then another person asked, are transitional programs available for middle school children? Transition starts at age 14. So it's really an age that really triggers it. Doesn't matter, you know, if your kid's in middle school or high school at that point, it's an age that triggers transition services. The next question was, what is the age range for the job program for Best Buddies? I don't know if you just want to read it.
Yeah, sure. The jobs program, we work with anyone 18 and up. I know, I think currently our youngest participant might be 19 and oldest is mid-60s. And I mean, we would go higher or start at 18. Most of the folks we work with are 22 and up, simply because most of the folks we work with have gone through a program that ends at age 22. But that being said, if we have folks who are graduating high school at 18 and are ready to move on at that point, we can definitely start then as well.
Okay. And another question, can you be in college and be in the jobs program?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we have a number of jobs program participants who are also pursuing college.
Another question is Best Buddies only at the Harbor School at the present time? And then another question similar, what if your student is not at the Harbor, but at another middle school?
Right, so right now, yes, we're just at the Harbor in BPS. We're hoping to expand. If you have a student who's currently at a different middle school, you can certainly be in touch with our office. We're continually working with John in his department to try to get a formal relationship going and seeing if we can start working with some other schools. But currently, we're just at the Harbor for now.
So there is only one chapter right now, but we are trying to get more chapters, and each chapter costs around $7,000, so we're trying to work with the district to try to add more chapters. It starts in middle school as just a friendship club, and the kids do a lot of things together in school, but not outside of school. And as they age on to high school, it really becomes more of a pairing of a friendship, where they start to do things together outside of high school with their buddy. So if you're interested in having your school have a chapter, I ask that we can talk to John and the folks from the district later tonight, because we really think we find a real need as we talk about more inclusion to have more chapters, because it really can't happen organically sometimes. A lot of our kids are in sub-separate placements, so it will bring them out of that sub-separate placement so they can have a friend. So when they see each other at lunch, they sit with each other at lunch, they talk to each other, and then maybe they see each other in the community. And now it sort of spurs them to say hello. So you see these subtle, small changes that as parents are very important. It's important for the kids, for their confidence too.
Okay, a couple more questions. Can you tell us about the tuition on the core program, and for how many months?
Sure, the tuition it's day school. It's an extended school year. It's 216 days. It includes a summer component, and it's about $67,000 a year. And then the vocational alternatives program, which is the partnership that we have with school districts. It offers students an opportunity to stay within their public school setting and really supplement their program and offer them more vocational experiences without making a huge commitment, in terms of the tuition and fees of that program. And the vocational alternatives program is $100 a day, and you can send 4 students with 1 staff person. So it's pretty affordable, and they have access to our entire campus and all of the vocational sites, both on and off campus.
Another question was about the camp. Is the camp a summer camp, school vacation camp? If you could talk more about that.
It's very much a recreational summer camp. We got fishing and boating and sleeping in cabins. It's a week long. It's overnight. But very traditional summer camp. It's not a therapeutic camp per se, although we serve kids with disabilities and we help them develop social skills and interpersonal skills, but it's very much a recreational camp. And it's overnight.
Another question. Do you know what kind of training is being provided by BPS to staff in the schools on transition? I'm concerned that it has not been part of my son's IEP. Is Easter Seals providing BPS services? How are these legal requirements being implemented in BPS and coordinated with these community-based organizations? Maybe John?
I'm very happy that the panelists are here tonight, and I think it's important that we spend as much time as we can understanding what you do so that we can be considering how we can collaborate in the future. Just in response to that question, we have recently completed the final draft of a strategic plan for transition assessment and services. And this has been in development for a year, and it's long overdue in the Boston Public Schools. That draft strategic plan is now being reviewed by our superintendent, and once we have an opportunity to review it with her and make whatever adjustments need to be made, we're going to begin implementation of that. So we're looking forward to the time this year when we will do a better job of transitional assessment and transitional planning and transition services for all of our youngsters with disabilities 14 to 22. What I'm excited about that I've heard tonight is I think there are things going on in your programs that both we can, at one level we can try to model ourselves after. At another level, we can try to get access to your programs. And one part of our strategic plan is going to be professional development for our own staff. So there may be ways in which you can help us with that too. We look at this as a very big effort in the Boston Public Schools that we're just beginning now. And I know I've talked to many of you for a couple of years now about our trying to get better at doing this, and that's what we will do going into the future. One of the things that you can help us with in doing that is make sure through the process that the SpedPac is put in place, make sure that we know of any difficulties or problems that you're having around the issue of transition in your schools. And we will involve you as we pursue relationships with these groups and with other providers too. Just to speak about the Best Buddies opportunity, Diane and I have been talking about this for more than a year, and we are constantly on the lookout for the funding resources that we need to set up more chapters. I would like to think that we could have a chapter at every middle school and every high school eventually. That's our goal. Relative to Easter Seals has already become a partner, has been a partner to the Boston Public Schools around assistive technology, and we're hoping in the development of our now in the works, we're developing a strategic plan for assistive technology, and Easter Seals has already assisted us with that, and will probably be our major partner around the development of assistive technology in the Boston Public Schools. And Cardinal Cushing is one of the out-of-district placements that the Boston Public Schools has used for years. I'm very excited to hear about the vocational program that we might have access to without having to make a placement at Cardinal Cushing. So that is very exciting. And I'll try to keep you abreast on a monthly basis of what's developing and when things will be available.
You guys, the questions will allow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are all of these programs only for 18 to 22-year-olds? No, transition starts at age 14, and this leads into the next question. When should I start the application process for transition programs, and how far in advance? So even a little bit before your child's turning 14 and you're having an IEP meeting, you should talk to the people who are in charge of your meeting and ask them, could I have a transition assessment? Is this appropriate for my child? And that becomes part of your child's plan, that you work and grow on, and then transition will lead into then a vocation assessment. What needs to be on the IEP in order for the child to be connected to the Best Buddies or other programs? That isn't something that is on the IEP. It's sort of a school-wide choice to have a chapter at your school. And again, I encourage you to start writing and asking for chapters at your school if you think it's appropriate. It really is, has been a great addition to the Harbor School, and I'm hoping that we can get them in more of our schools.
I had a question. A lot of our parents have children with autism, and I was wondering, well, just open that across the board. Is obviously there's been a huge increase in the number of cases. How are you guys adapting your programs? Like, is Best Buddies starting to branch out into the autistic options for autistic kids? And just would be interesting across the board what everybody sees regarding autism and how you're adapting your programs to fit.
Sure. You want me to start? We'll kind
Sure.
of go down the line. So the way that we're set up is we work with folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities. For our processes, it doesn't matter if your son or daughter has Down syndrome, has autism, an autism spectrum disorder. It's all treated the same for us. Our friendship programs are, modeled whether you have one particular disability or another. It doesn't matter. With our program at the Harbor and in our other schools, we work specifically with the special ed directors and the special ed advisors at each of the schools to gain their support to figure out who might be a good match with another student based on what their interests are and their abilities and all of that sort of stuff. With our jobs program, it really doesn't matter what the disability may be. The biggest sort of qualifier for us is that the primary diagnosis is intellectual or developmental disability. And the reason I stress that is if it's emotional disability or behavioral disability, we just don't have any clinicians on staff who deal specifically with that. So if your son or daughter may have anxiety or depression in addition to intellectual or developmental disability, that's absolutely fine. We just focus on the primary diagnosis or the largest hurdle in gaining employment being intellectual or developmental disability. So the rising number of participants with autism isn't really affecting how we're sort of conducting our business.
Yeah, and just to reinforce that, on the jobs program side of things, same idea. It's person-centered, and although we maybe have seen ourselves using more tools that we didn't use as much before that increase, such as checklists and very regimented tools that are used in the workplace to help people get used to their routines. As Craig said, it really is broken down to the individual, and so what we look at are what are the strengths and what are the challenges that we're working with. And that allows us to generally cast the disability aside. I mean, we obviously do have all of that info and we read through it and take it into account. But what it comes down to is the individual, what are their strengths, what are their challenges, and how will that apply to the workplace that they're interested in.
And I would say just to note also, I would say almost the majority of our participants are adult participants. We work with 70 adults over the age of 22 in our jobs program. I'd say the heavy majority have autism spectrum disorders. So I think it's just kind of, reflects the current number of folks throughout the Commonwealth that have autism spectrum disorders.
Thank you.
Well, at Easterfield, we work with all different disabilities, and because autism is such a common disability and autism spectrum disorders, we have a lot of youth and adults on the spectrum who receive services. Our assistive technology department serves an awful lot of students on the spectrum to help with communication, augmentative communication, everything from tools to help with executive functioning and organization. And our youth leadership programs and our job readiness programs, we cater to each individual needs and interests. But in our camp program, we actually have a specific week for kids on the spectrum because overnight camp can be pretty highly socially complex. So we do all the same activities, it's just that we have smaller group sizes because it might be a little overwhelming to be in a cabin with like 15 other kids. So we do have an option if you are a parent of a kid on the spectrum where it's only 5 kids in a cabin, and we supplement it with volunteers so that there's lots of supports for when they are outside of their comfort zone, outside of their routine, we're there to be able to support them to be successful in that.
As Colleen said, all of our programs serve people on the spectrum. Any program that can benefit someone, it's available to them. And we've definitely seen an increase in the number of folks on the spectrum in the recent years.
And Cardinal Cushing also works with a range of disabilities. We've seen an increase as well in autism spectrum disorders. And I think really, I think when we look at each of our young adults, looking at their strengths and individualizing their programs so that they are successful. As Jake had mentioned, we use a lot of visual supports. We try to put in some adaptations to their schedule, maybe some sensory integration, some breaks throughout their workday so that they're not feeling overwhelmed, but really try to support them and look at where they might have some deficits and give them the tools that they need to get through their day and be successful at their job site.
Are there any general questions at this point that anybody write down? Feel free, we have plenty of time at this point.
Yeah, I wanted to
Very
ask
good.
Mr. Seal, if you could please elaborate a little bit on your assistant technology program and what location at South Station is it?
I'm sorry.
If you can elaborate a little bit more on the assistant technology program?
Sure.
And you said there's one in
Yeah, we have a regional center at our location at 89 South Street, about a block from South Station. And at the regional center, we have all kinds of hardware and software devices that people can come in, ask some questions about it, try out different options, even borrow devices, take them home for 2 weeks, try them out to see what works. We also run workshops there. We're running some workshops, or we will be running some workshops soon, on iPads and other devices and the kinds of apps that can help folks on the spectrum. We also do, as part of an IEP, we provide an assessment, assistive technology assessment. We can provide ongoing training. We can provide a lot of services right in the school if it's part of the IEP.
Okay, where is the regional location?
It's 89 South Street, right by South Station.
About a block from corner of South and Essex Street.
It's 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
That raises a good issue. Maybe if you can all talk about how parents can get more information about your organizations or access what you have to offer. We could just kind of maybe.
Yeah. We do have, Cardinal Cushing has some brochures out front, but certainly feel free to go to our website. I'm the Director of Admissions and Marketing at the school, and my information is on the school's website. There's also, if you're interested in the Vocational Alternatives Program, Doug Frazier, who is our Director of Vocational Services at the school, he is the point person for that program. So there's lots of resources online. And on the brochures out front, all of our contact information is on each of those as well.
Our website is eastersealsma.org. We don't have a brochure with us tonight, but I've got cards. That's one way of finding out. We have an 800 number, which I can never remember. Colleen, what is it? You can't
Oh,
remember
I
either.
can give you the Boston office number. It's 617-226-2640.
We will, I'll be creating a page after tonight with some video clips and things like that, but we'll also have all the contact information with more specific links to the programs. If you go to the flyer, there's links to the actual websites of all the organizations here, so that you get a lot more detailed information. I actually want to applaud everybody for having some very nice information on their sites. So that was very good. So, but I'll do my best to cross-link back and forth, and any information I get, I will forward to you guys. Another question? Right there?
Sorry, this is a big but I'm looking to stand up for a lot of vocational transition, and I'm wondering if there's any instances with four-year colleges or university transitions.
Is there any assistance for four-year college transitions? I know that currently Best Buddies, that's not a proficiency that we have or something that we're working with. I think maybe Michelle might be able to speak to that a little bit better.
We have in the past worked, we're located in Hanover, we're south of Boston. We've worked with Cape Cod Community College down in Sandwich, and we've also worked with Massasoit in Brockton, and they both offer programs designed for young adults with developmental disabilities. The majority of our students would move on to a 2-year college experience, a community college experience, maybe a certificate program. Our student at Cardinal Cushing is not moving on to a 4-year university. But I know that there are more and more colleges that are expanding and growing in that area and looking to create programs to support individuals with developmental disabilities.
We work with Mass Rehab to support accommodations for college students through assistive technology primarily. Through assistive technology that a college student, 4-year, 2-year, doesn't matter, needs to be able to access the curriculum, be able to do the work in college. We do assistive technology evaluations and training for Mass Rehab.
Would you recommend anybody else who thinks a big player towards that logic of helping that with that? Would you not? Clifford?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I mean, transition, I mean, to me anyway, it's through college. It's until someone reaches their dream. So like as Kirk said, a lot of the students that work in our youth leadership programs and transition things are in college. So I'm just going to say.
Oh, no. Well, we'll work with, obviously, college-bound kids might have a little different need or understanding of what's available and also what can they maximize. So we'll work with, obviously, maximizing that part of the equation as well. Our goal at SpedPac is to be as diversely offering of whatever transitional services could be helpful. So we're not looking to just channel and focus on one type of logic or idea. That's why vocational is a very big opportunity right now, because it's so limited to many kids. So we want to obviously expand their horizons or their options, and I applaud your effort for doing all of them. So. Anybody else?
Do they try to have Mass Rehab and DDS, or one is enough?
So typically, the question was, do you have to have Mass Rehab or DDS? And in my experience, typically, once you are starting to work to get a service coordinator for your child, prior to them becoming 22, I would suggest going through Department of Developmental Services, and then they will potentially refer you to Mass Rehab Commission. There's a lot of overlap. So you'll probably, your son or daughter may get assigned to Mass Rehab versus Department of Developmental Services, but they work together to make sure that there's funding available for the student, for the participant, and that they can have the service coordinator or case manager follow up that way. And as we mentioned earlier briefly, we found that there's about a 6-month wait. So from the time that you have a discussion with Department of Developmental Services to the time that they're eligible for Mass Rehab Commission funding, for whether it be transition services or whatever is available, it's 6 months from the time you put in your application. So I would suggest, if possible, to have that conversation with Department of Developmental Services 6 months prior to your son or daughter turning 22. So when they turn 22, you're not waiting around.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Anybody? Jerry?
Yeah, so wondering regarding the transition to college, if someone from DPS can talk about the relationship with the inclusive concurrent enrollment program, or the relationship with Bunker Hill and UMass Boston.
Come up, John. Come up.
That opportunity is available, and it's available through the guidance of the Boston Public Schools. And if anybody is interested in that option, I will put together the contact information and the program description and make that available through the SpedPac website. I'm sorry, what was it?
What is it? What is the opportunity?
It makes it possible for high school students in Boston to attend some college options concurrently while they're in school in the Boston Public Schools. And it's a program that has been active and inactive off and on. Mainly, this goes before the time that I got here, but there are people in the district working on that program, and I'll try to get the contact information for all of you.
And that makes longer vocationals independently provides a lot of services separate from the public school.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I believe Bunker Hill also provides their own in-house program for students who develop disabilities.
Great. It seems that this is an area of interest, and we'll start pulling together information on that, on the high school to college opportunities, and arrange for a presentation here at one of the future meetings, if that's okay with you folks. Susan just asked, could I talk about vocational opportunities? Many of you are aware that the district has recently engaged in a major redevelopment of Madison Park Technical Vocational High School. That's a process that is started a little while ago and is ongoing now and will go into the future. That's going to be very exciting as a main technical vocational opportunity for students in the Boston Public Schools. And in the new organization of the school district that was announced over the last couple of days, one of the networks, one of the 8 networks that will be developed going forward will be a vocational technical network. So there'll be a high school network and there'll be a vocational technical network. I don't know a lot about that right now, but we'll be sharing that information as we go forward. The challenge that many of you know, because you're experiencing it, is that like a lot of urban school districts, we don't yet offer enough in vocational technical education. And as a technical vocational high school, under state regulations, Madison Park High School will be available to students only by open lottery. So that lottery will be open to all children with disabilities coming up through the grades. But we can't set aside seats at Madison or set aside programs at Madison just for students with disabilities. And so there are a number of us that have been in conversation for the last few months between the people working on the Madison redevelopment and my office about the other vocational options that we will need to either get into collaboration with or develop, which can be targeted at specific populations of students with disabilities. We have to do both. We have to make sure that in any lottery situation in the Boston Public Schools, students with disabilities are included in those lottery opportunities. And because those lottery opportunities often preclude, not allow me to arrange for seats to be set aside, we have to be developing vocational options and other options which can be tailored to and reserved for students with disabilities. Both things have to be worked on.
Have you thought about it? I know we talked about this doing a vocational small school other than Madison Park, because if our kids are in a lottery system, then the special ed piece isn't going to be necessarily set up for them to take it in. Then it's sort of they're putting it together as our kids get there. So wouldn't it be better if we could create a smaller school that had vocation that our kids could be placed at?
Well, you've provided the leadership on this, so I'm not going to claim that it was my thinking, it was yours. Diane has made this point that a lot of students in Boston, students with disabilities, and they're typically developing peers, could benefit from some small vocational options in our school district. Madison is a very large facility, and and as I said, will be available only by open lottery. I participated in the running of a small vocational program here many years ago for students with disabilities. I think it's a great idea. I think this kind of thinking about specialized vocational options that are available not just for children with disabilities, but for children with disabilities in their typically developing peers, I think that's the way we should be thinking about it. And I think this may be something we want to explore in collaborative relationships with some of our partners. I don't think we should be thinking that the Boston Public Schools can or should do everything by ourselves. We won't always be the best at it, and there are so many things to do that it could take us a good long time to get there. So that's something that we have been talking about, and we should spend a little more time on that. I don't want to take up the time of our guests here tonight, but yes.
Yes, this question is for you. I've been attending all my child's IEP all along and everything. I am very appalled that I'm just getting to know that the transitional program, we should start talking about from age 14. I didn't get to know about it till my child is 17 going to 18. I think that when we do the IEPs the IEPs when we go for it, they should explain to us. Not all of us know. It should be explained to us so we know ahead of time. It's very hard and difficult to get to almost to the age of 18, and this is the first time you're knowing about it. We do go to, I think they should explain it to us when we come to those IEPs. I know they say they send the whole thing to you. Not all of us are capable of reading that big thing sent home to us. We have no clue most of. We can try to read them, but we don't understand all of them. If this is explained to us as we go to those meetings, we will know ahead of time and start working with that and get it to the last minute and knowing about it. That's one thing wrong with that IEP section.
I absolutely agree with you. This has been an area where we have not done a good job in the past. The reason that we've put together our strategic plan is to try to do what we should be doing in this area going into the future. It's very big. We have thousands of children between the ages of 14 and 22, and we should be doing what you're saying for all of those children as they're approaching their 14th birthday. And we will do that going into the future. And to those of you whose children are already well beyond 14, we have to get paying attention to those cases right now if we haven't paid attention to them already. It's an area of service that is a high priority for us, and many of you who come to these meetings every month know that we've had a considerable list of high priorities that we've been attacking one after another consistently. I think that the fact that the SpedPac organized this meeting around transition services is a signal to all of us that this is now our number one priority, and we will pursue it that way.
If you have an IEP and you ask for transition services, which I asked for since my son's been 14, and I haven't had any, what's BPS's obligation to my son as far as transition services?
We're obligated to do appropriate transition assessments and deliver appropriate transition services, and we're obligated to include that as part of the IEP process. And if we haven't done that, and we're still not doing it, then you should be in contact with me directly. Tonight with me are members of my staff who are now in positions to begin to remedy this situation, both planfully for everybody, but around individual cases of children where we haven't done what we should be doing. And John can make sure that I know who you are and that we follow up on that.
I would add, there are two ways that we can deal with that. At every SpedPac meeting, we have general issue forms that you can use to fill out an area of concern or question you have. And always on the website, the form is available, I guess, 24 hours a day. So you can fill it out the same way, and we handle them to John Beer's office to make sure that it's actually handled appropriately and followed through. Okay? So at any time, it can be offered. Okay?
For the parents who have run into difficulties, this setback that you're sending now has been in formation for the last 4 to 5 years, yes, no? Like very strongly. Prior to that time, the setback was not very strong or even in formation. It was kind of like in limbo at this time. So those who have gone through difficulties because your kids did not, you were not told about the transition service or other services. You are now in the SpedPac now that has brought up the issues that were not brought up beforehand. That's just to clarify for those parents who are like wondering why was my kid, or why was I informed?
Right. It's not a bad, that's a good perspective because years ago the SpedPac was not, I want to say it's proactively dedicated towards re-educating or getting information back to the parents and working as strongly as we can with the administration to make sure that communication is flowing both ways. So I'll take it as a compliment, thank you. We are obviously striving to make every day better and more important and that connection stronger. We have a very strong relationship with the superintendent. She's able to hear our issues, and I think that's critically important for us being able to move forward when it comes down to budgetary constraints and understanding those issues. We're at every school committee meeting. I guess if they want us to go away, they won't happen. So we're going to be here. We strive every day to try to make positive change. And but thank you very much for the comment. Go ahead.
One more general question. I'm new to this meeting, and I'm just wondering, is there a handbook, like very simple language, that addresses these issues? I personally was helped by John Beer this summer, and he helped our family get what our daughter needed, and we appreciate that. But is there a handbook, so when you that tells you ahead of time what questions you should be asking of an IEP, if you're dealing with mental health issues versus different issues, how to help you to prepare for your IEP meeting, just as like these transitional issues that people don't automatically know. It's like a welcome manual.
Yep.
Like, here you are, these are things you should be thinking about. Or these are people you can talk to, or they're advocates in the system who people can reach out to.
Good question. Basically, I'll rephrase the question just for the video camera too. Asking for like a kind of a welcome.
User-friendly.
Yeah, user-friendly. Let's say break down the text speak and make it where everybody can understand the most common structures to situations. We're looking at doing something like that. We're also looking to create what's called frequently asked questions on our website so that those things we can ask based upon relative age point or issue point or specialized to certain disabilities. So we are in the process of trying to do that. Obviously, we'd love to copy someone else who's already done it. On our website, though, are several documents, your basic rights, what to know about an IEP and the 504, the differences of those two. We constantly update those or try to find other information that would be helpful. It's on there. The Concord SpedPac website has a very good understanding of the basic issues, but there's nothing that I have seen personally, like what you're saying, which is kind of a very short, but we're looking to try to create something. Did you want to answer the question too?
John, the Federation proposed a special meeting offers a 2-day training for transition.
True, thank you.
That is free, and you can talk
Yep. Good point. We're looking to also expand this, if we can, into Parent University as well. We weren't able to make that happen in the last sessions, but we're looking to hopefully expand it going forward.
So is there a committee working on making that kind of handbook?
We can appoint you on that committee tomorrow if you'd like to.
I'd like to be on
I'll take that as a yes, right? Excellent.
John, I'll add something to that, but I think,
I just wanted to add that I was thinking about that as well. The Federation for Children with Special Needs is an excellent resource for families. Their website is really user-friendly. Most of their presentations that they do on various topics are available by PowerPoint, and you can download that information. They also have parent advocates that can answer questions that you might have. And they range across Massachusetts, and they're really a great resource for families. So I encourage all of you to go to their website, and they have a conference every year right in the city. I believe it's usually in early March, and it's at the Seaport. So I would encourage all of you to go to their website. It's excellent. What's the name again? The Federation for Children with Special Needs.
Just to add to that, last year, 5 of the high school supervisors, even though it was a parent conference, we did attend that. It was a 2-day series, 2 or 3 with Terry McLaughlin, and it was really nice to be there and get the parent perspective to help us in our work. So 5 of the high school supervisors did attend that last year.
just to add to that, I did want to introduce you to the people from my office who are here tonight, because some of you may want to connect with them directly. Before I do that, as happens each month, sometimes principals of schools come to our meeting, and we do have 2 principals here tonight. Deb Rooney from the Lion School is here, and Eileen Nash from the Beethoven Ornberger School are here. So thank you for coming tonight. It's always helpful to us to have the principals from my office, many of you know her now. Natalie Ake is our family engagement specialist, who's in our administrative group. And this idea that was just posed, Natalie and I just agreed that that's something she can probably help with that. So we'll work with you and John on developing that kind of resource. Good idea. Also here are Paula Donnelly, our Assistant Director for High Schools, and Helen Murphy, one of our supervisors for high schools. And with me is Kristen Daly, who's my special assistant, and many of you know now that if you can't get a hold of me and need to talk to me immediately, you can actually talk to Kristen, and it'll be a little bit like talking to me. So one of us is pretty much always available, so do that if you need to. Oh, and I didn't see Maggie. Maggie Druneau is here. Maggie's our manager for operations. She's our many of you know her now. She handles our transportation problem solving, and has been doing a great job, and also handles some of our arrangements for meetings and stuff like that. So.
Another question on the floor?
I wanted to mention that at our high school, on our high school board, some parents right here sitting with me have established a transition committee that informs other parents about the transition process. So other schools, probably do the same thing under their board or their site council.
Which school?
The Lion.
Oh, great.
Anybody? There's a question back to the panel, or Carla. Says, are towns only allowed to send 4 students total, or can they send more as long as the ratio stays 4-to-1?
Yes, as long as the ratio stays 4-to-1, they can send additional students as many as they'd like.
Now, is that district have to be a district provided service, or can the individual parent work directly with you guys as well?
We've had both relationships. We've had some parents that have gotten together and have split the cost because it's $25 per family, which is extremely affordable, and that was our goal, to make this program affordable not only for school districts but also for families if they were interested. We also offer, if you didn't want to do a group, you wanted to do something more individual, you can send your child for $135 a day, and that would be for a full day without any staff, and Cardinal Cushing staff would provide the services for your child. So again, we're looking to work with, families and school districts and see us. I hope that people see us as a partner, and if there's ideas that we're not thinking of, our door's open and we're always listening and willing to do more creative things programmatically.
Anybody? Okay. No? I had overall, I guess, two-part question. When it comes to transitional services, it's a topic we hear a lot, maybe if you're trying to hear about it. From a district perspective, could you maybe name or give some examples of a district you think are getting it and trying to understand it better and maybe utilizing your services and really embracing it? Because there's also a fear with the districts that it's going to cost a tremendous amount of money. And from what I hear from your discussions and what I've seen as well, is that some of these options are very affordable, like $7,000 for the Best Buddies chapter, the loaner programs, your program that you talked about, the 4-to-1 ratio. To me, they seem very, very cost effective in most cases, and very accommodating to the districts to help. So I don't know if anybody want to.
I can talk a little bit about the cost per chapter that we have. Diane had mentioned it was about $7,000. That's the cost that our office incurs to provide the support from a full-time program manager who work with the school throughout the course of the year, and additional resources for trainings and things like that. We actually do a lot of work to find that money and that support privately. So we do more than the majority of our funding is private. So we're continually working with foundations throughout Massachusetts, and we'll continue to do so. Our hope, as everyone's hope up here, is to provide services free wherever possible. So we want to take all of that pressure off of the local communities, and we're going to continue to do that. Having said that, there's a number of great communities we work with. We actually have schools. We have 100 school-based chapters throughout Massachusetts. So we have, yes, are there some communities that are getting it right, and it's just a number of different circumstances. But I think, the fact that this room is so full tonight with parents that are looking to make it happen, I think is very encouraging.
Well, we actually get more of them who actually watch on the video too.
Oh, you two at home. Great job.
We have a lot of parents who can't make it, so we're trying to find every possible option to get the information to them.
Yeah, and as far as the expansion goes, we have been working with BPS, and they've been very helpful with us trying to negotiate and navigate how we're going to be able to provide more services. I think the biggest factor for us opening a school in Boston was definitely Diane and the local support to get that neighborhood school and the folks that are involved at the harbor on board. We certainly wouldn't have been able to do that without her. So I think having parental involvement, working with administrators throughout BPS, and seeking partnerships, whether it's with Best Buddies or Easter Seals or Cardinal Cushing, I think is certainly the way to go about affecting the change that you all are hoping to see.
Mr. Seals, any comments?
Yeah. We obviously do a lot of collaborative work with school systems around the state, and I think one of the things we're trying to do is provide services a la carte. I mean, there are certain times that a particular case just needs an evaluation and recommendations the school will carry on. There are some times when we need to be more involved, but we can provide services a la carte. Again, we supplement those kinds of services that we do collaboratively with the school system with other services like the Technology Center at South Station, many of the programs, the youth leadership programs that Colleen talked about, the summer camp program, provide those with a combination of private funding and funding from other sources.
I think, I agree with what everyone has shared so far. I think for us, part part of the reason why people don't know about what we're doing is because we're not doing a good job spreading that message. And it might be something we're thinking about, maybe doing like a resource fair here with your, within your PAC group, and having, vendors come and people share what they do, because I'm sure that there's a lot more out there than just the three of us who will offer, a la carte, very affordable programs, free programs, services that are in our own backyard that we don't even know about. So I think it's really just sharing and getting the word out there and doing more marketing and being more proactive.
Well, I'll take you up on the offer. That sounds like a good plan. Follow-up question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. My name is Lisa Connor, and I'm a parent of a child with special needs. I'm also on the board. I recently attended a seminar at the South Norfolk County Autism Organization. It was a great presentation from the Department of Developmental Services, and there's a great handout that you can probably contact them for. It's called The Road Forward, the DDS Guide for Transitional Planning. So there's a great timeline in here, starting from the age of 14 up through to 22, and it, of course, talks about the school piece, IEP, and fitting it into a transitional plan. But, part of this whole idea of transition is very complex because it not only includes the school portion, but it includes other things like, supports and services outside of the school that you have to start thinking about for the child. So I'm going to look through this handout. I just realized that I had it. It's a very, very valuable guide. I've gone to a couple of different presentations on transition, and I'll have a book binder that I promised Diane and Susan that will be available. SpedPac will have it, just kind of talking about, SSI and other programs. But there are other things besides the school piece that a parent of a special child would have to be thinking of.
I had one more question for the panel. As districts try to get more acclimated to the logic of transition services and I guess the plethora of what's available, have you started to see more need to consult or offer services to help build them within their own district versus just maybe their own programs? I know East Fields is very almost ahead of the curve in some respects about consulting and training services for the administration.
Yeah, we do it. We've always done, in addition to direct services, we've always done consulting services, training services for staff in assistive technology, and now in the area of transition. Over this past summer, we offered several transition workshops at our facility at 89 South Street, geared to parents, geared to educators, and thinking about state agencies. Our friends from Best Buddies made a great point. As your child starts approaching grad 22 or the graduation, it's really important to connect with those state agencies that they're going to rely on after they graduate and turn 22. So yeah, we offer an awful lot of training services for staff and consultation services as needed.
Cardinal, have you?
Yeah, we've done, we recently started a series called Lunch and Learn, and Cardinal Cushing provides a lunch, and we have various speakers on our staff, clinical staff, folks that speak about transition, our adult services folks to come in and speak about post-22 options. We're doing more and more of that, and that group is expanding. Again, we're not getting the word out. That's on us. We need to do a better job at expanding that piece. But we have been, asked by school districts if we would consider doing some consultation regarding the vocational piece and how to kind of create those things within their own school setting, and we're very open to doing that. So we aren't doing it yet, but certainly that is hopefully in our future.
As far as the friendship programs that we have set up, the current model we have and have always had is a pure partnership with each of the communities we work with. So the success at the Harbor Pilot Middle School isn't because Best Buddies went in and said, okay, you're going to do this, 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 and this. We've worked from day one with the parents, with the administrators at the school, and you really need everyone to be on board in order to have these successful chapters. So just by virtue of how we're set up, we've continually and always have been set up to be partners with the communities that we work with. So in terms of actual consulting, I think that's kind of like all we do. So,
Similarly with the jobs program, it's each individual that we work with is welcome to bring anyone that they choose to our meetings, and we consult in that way. Most folks do have folks that they're comfortable with having support them in their job search and career development, and so on a kind of by request basis, we'll absolutely set meetings, sit down. And you don't have to be in the program. Folks call all the time just looking to learn about the program, learn about how to get started with looking for a job on their own. And we're always happy to set those meetings as well.
Any other questions on the floor? Okay. I just want to add one quick point, and we'll wrap it up. On the handout that's available on the website, it's called Introduction to Transition Services, excuse me. There's a technical assistance advisory from the state that actually explains the process of the transition planning and gives examples in regards to how to work with that on your IEP. There'll be a link on the website to that advisory as well, but it will also be within the document, okay? So at this point, I want to wrap up a little early, let everybody go home before the kids get out of child care. So I want to thank our panel. Really appreciate your coming out tonight and educating all of us. I think you guys do wonderful work, and we look forward to working with you again in the future and expanding, let's say, your services and roles in our district. So, thank you.